Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Tough Talk, our first one of 2024. I'm Amanda Nauman. This is Dave Sheik, and joining us today we have Mr. Bobby Thompson. How's it going, Bobby?
It's wonderful. How's California?
Good. A lot warmer. I mean, we're complaining about the 50s, so I'm not even gonna ask how it is there. What is it at the moment? Sub-zero?
Like -6, I think,
Oh,
right now,
yeah, that's so crazy.
with
Um,
2 inches of snow on the ground. So
No problem. No problem. So no riding. I think it's safe to say everyone in Emporia is Zwifting at the moment.
Zwift is the king right now.
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, it is currently the day we're recording January 16th, which means we have 3-ish months until our first tough camp of the year. And just like 2023, our first camp is going to be in Kansas. And especially this one, we're very excited about because it's going to be year 2 of the Flint Hills Gravel Camp. And that's why we're sitting here with Bobby today. Dave, how's it going?
I'm recovering from the COVID,
Yeah, so he's not feeling so hot.
but yeah, I sound like I've had a few packs of smokes this past week, so don't be jealous.
Bear with him. Yeah, so again, our camp this year, April 10 through 13, it's the same-ish weekend, but the difference is this year it's not over Easter weekend. So in 2023, that next Sunday was Easter, and this year it's not. So it's kind of a free weekend, no holiday to worry about. We're hoping that that gives people a little bit more freedom to join us. The cost this year, $10.75. If you head to tough.ventures.com on the first section at the top, there's a camp button. Click that camp, and that's going to get you to all of the information for our first Flint Hills gravel camp. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. This conversation, we're going to talk about some of the stories from last year and just kind of go through it. So if you're a first time person interested in our camps, or you want to know a little bit about what it entails, we're going to do this episode so that you know what to expect. Yep. So guys, what is the goal? Why did we start doing these camps at all to begin with?
Uh, yeah, we've talked about this before, but a lot of times with the tough camps, just from being a coach with CTS, I've done a lot of camps over the year, and so it's not about having as much of a performance focus, but more at these camps of how to bring in all different types of individuals that are going out on these adventure rides. And then, those that are new to gravel, or, as we saw last year with this, we have people that are a lot more seasoned in these types of events. And then it kind of really makes out for a better experience at camp, because it's us kind of sharing, go out and ride. We find out day one really the groups that people go into. And then as the days go on, you kind of ride with more groups that are set to your ability levels. And then you have campers and, coaches or guides at the camps that we can share more of those experiences from people and their, you know, different things that they've done through the years. So we had people that have been everything from, I guess now we can say, winners of the Cannonball 500, and those
That's
that
true.
have survived the Unbound XL 350,
Yeah.
and everything in between.
Yeah, I mean, we even had a camper last year who I believe it was her first time on legit gravel. So you're talking, we had a camper who went on to win the 550-mile Cannonball, and a camper who was super challenged and was able to successfully complete her first 35-mile gravel event. So you
First
do. We
35
had
mile
all
gravel
kinds.
ride.
Yeah, gravel ride. Yeah, you're right. That was her longest distance.
Yeah.
So, and that's what it's all about. I mean, gaining confidence through the camp is going to get you confidence riding gravel wherever you ride gravel, but specifically experience in the Flint Hills, which, if you haven't ridden in the Flint Hills, can become very daunting very quickly
Mhm.
if you're not prepared correctly.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we told this story last year also. But one of the reasons why we wanted to do this and why we wanted to do it with you is because this is how we met. It was on a cycling camp that we did, the international one. So the camps are very near and dear to our heart. Yes, we love going to events and seeing our friends and doing that, but a lot of times you never actually have a lot of time to hang out with your friends and go do fun stuff, which is like riding your bike with them. And if you go to a race, maybe you have time to just do a pre-ride with your friends, and during the event, you maybe see them for a few minutes and that's it. But the camp gives you a chance to hang out with your friends more and ride, get solid miles, and then be prepared mentally and physically for what like the terrain and everything about the event is going to give you. And we got to do that with you internationally, and I think it was so fun, and that set the stage for our friendship now, even now to this day. And I
Well, you
think that
keep saying friends, but
oh, we're
the
not
cool
friends?
part as of adults showing up to these camps is you make new friends.
Yes, you make new
And
friends
then
also.
it's these adventures. And a lot of times we don't set time aside in our busy lives and schedules to get a few good days of miles stacked up. And
Yeah.
so, especially something like Flint Hills Gravel, what was this event at 3-4 years ago? How many riders?
I mean, this is the fourth year. So the first year we had 250, and last year we had 700.
Yeah.
So
And it
in
was, I
3
mean, it was busy.
Mhm.
It reminded me of the first time I kind of went out to Unbound, where America's is a small little town down the street. You get to ride a lot of the same area. And, if I was going to get miles to set up for other events in the year, I feel like this is the perfect event to go in where it's not too crazy. The terrain is super fun and the routes that are used are um, just tricky enough, even though there might be times you hate Bobby for the way he's taken us.
I mean, that's kind of the purpose. They're purpose built for that reason. They give you just enough challenges. It's going to help you be successful later. But I also want you to be successful now to help build up that confidence. So yeah, I throw just enough at you.
Yep. So the goal here is, we've said it before, but the Flint Hills can definitely be humbling. And when people talk about going to some of these events and coming out, it's like, and we'll kind of get into it, but like, how do you ride there? What type of gear do you have there? And so I always think it's worth going to a camp and getting into the nitty gritty on all that stuff and testing out gear that you have. And then, yeah, really using this as an experience of like how to survive the Flint Hills, because it's a different place. If I said our event, Mammoth Tough in California versus what you're riding out in the Flint Hills, it's completely different terrain. I don't
Well,
even have
it's
to
a
really worry
completely
about
different.
flats.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's what makes it a different experience for every different level of rider also. I mean, someone cruising along at 20 miles per hour is going to have an entirely different experience than someone surviving at 10 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Especially when the wind kicks up at 20 miles per hour and you're fighting this and now you're going 6 or 8, you're going to need more food on the bike. You're going to need more packs on the bike. It's just different experiences. And that's what you're going to get at a camp like this is different levels of those experiences.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get into the schedule, what to expect. Our camp starts Wednesday. So you do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday is the event day, so April 13th. Um, we had people from out of town come to this camp last year, and some of them traveled on Tuesday, and some of them traveled that Wednesday morning and showed up that afternoon. So how you get to camp is completely up to you. It is totally doable to get there super early on Wednesday if you want to, and if that's possible in the time zones that you're at. And it's also good to get there Tuesday. You can get stuff settled and kind of take an easy morning on Wednesday before you meet everyone. Bobby joined us for day one last year. So, how was day one last year, Bobby, from what you remember?
Day one was the most fun for me personally. Because I'm so busy the rest of the week getting ready for the race day. I got to hang out with the campers.
Yeah.
The most of the time was on that Wednesday, and yes, it was a blast watching everyone come in, excited, a little nervous, not knowing each other, learning each other's names. Yeah, it was a good buzz, and we got out for a little ride afterwards.
Do you remember the headwind? How gnarly it was? We all decided to ride out together, and then as soon as we flipped it, we were all like, "This is the best."
Yeah, when you fight your way against the headwind, and then when you turn around, it's like a sprint for the city limit sign, with no effort,
Yeah,
because the wind's
exactly.
just pushing you the entire way.
Yeah, and while it was day one, we did try to keep everyone together, and we still had some variable speeds in there. So Bobby was able to take the slower group, and do like a modified route. So for any of the days that we do, including the first day, where we do try to stay together a little bit more based on the speeds of everyone, we will make it so that you'll be riding about the same amount of time and probably less distance than everyone else.
I should probably explain that to all people maybe on the West Coast, city limit signs. You don't understand what this is, but if you ride
Mm.
in Kansas, if there's a city limit sign coming, that means it's a sprint. So there you go.
Yeah, it's just sprint.
That's what we're referring
It's
to, and
sprint
it's
points.
super funny.
You gotta remember, we have a small town every 10 miles. And there's a reason for that, but it's a really boring related to the railroad reason. But yeah, we have a small town every 10 miles. So every 10 miles, people start looking at each other, and there's a city limit sign coming up, and somebody goes. So,
It's like
and the points build up, but they don't mean anything. So,
the
Yeah.
points build up. Yeah.
In your head.
We have the SAG vehicle with check marks and point system, adding them up. At the end of the night, there's a
exactly right.
scoreboard at the headquarters.
That's all right. And for people who like me who cannot win a city limit sprint, we just pick out other signs and we just jump at those signs, and that becomes our city limit sprint, so we can get some points. So
And you just say,
Mm.
"What? I thought it was a sign."
This
I thought
is
the 35-mile speed limit sign was the city limit sign. I don't know what you're talking about.
this is a mess.
All right, Dave. Day 2, Thursday. This is a little bit longer day.
Yeah. So
What do you
after we
think?
kind of the goal with these is take everybody on day one. It helps us understand with the experience over the years, what groups to kind of set on the road. And then it allows us by day two, knowing the goals of everybody and the groups, then how to set the distances and pace out on the road. And then we can kind of divide everybody up and let them, we'll decide for you, and then you can self-select based on how you're feeling, and that's the day that we get to go out and really kind of explore. And this was a super fun ride last year where we took the guys that wanted to get ready for Excel and Cannonball, and those that wanted a little bit more mileage, and we went way out there and got on these Flint Hills nature trails, which were just redone, and super cool area to go explore. I think I've only ridden them one other time at what used to be called DK. And then, yeah, that was my favorite ride of the week. Yeah, that was super fun.
You and Matt took the faster group. I took the medium group. And then,
We did a flip flop.
yeah.
I took middle, and then we switched at the stop, and then everybody kind of got a different experience with different people through the day.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to emphasize in this conversation is like don't feel intimidated if you want to come to a camp. We'll make it so that you get to ride what you feel comfortable with. The SAG vehicle has a plan to get people to a certain point, and if at that point they want to take the route back, they can. And if you want to challenge yourself and go a little bit further, we'll have enough coaches and you'll be able to do that. And this is on day 2, the day to do that because you still have Friday to kind of recover and get ready. But Bobby is our route master for all of these. So on that day 2, Bobby, what was it about that Flint Hills Trail that you were excited to get people on?
The fact that we're not on it very often. We most of the events around this area don't hop onto the nature trail that often, because if you were
Yeah.
to ride it for an extended period of time, it does get a little, in my opinion, boring over an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Because it's a railway trail, long, consistent, slow grade. But for a short amount of time, it's a very nicely done trail, and it's a cool trail to be on.
Yeah.
And that's important to think when I design these routes, and even whether it's for the race or for the camp, especially for the camp, we talk about these routes every day, every evening. The three of us do,
Yeah.
based on these things. What do we want tomorrow? And I have the routes made, but we're going to cater them for the riders. So even if you have to do shorter distance, you're not going to get slighted on what you're going to see. I
Mhm.
grew up in America, so I grew up in that area. So I grew up in that area. I learned how to drive in that area, rode bikes in that area as a kid. I know the point of interest that I want to get people to, regardless of the mileage that you're going to ride that day.
And which B roads to take out when the weather comes in.
Depending on the experience of the riders, I may or may not take out a B road if there's mud on it.
Oh,
We could,
remind me of the name of the restaurant that we go to for lunch that day.
so that day we went to the Rolling Hills Bar and
Yeah,
Grill in
so good.
Americus.
It's so good.
Yeah, yeah, no.
And it's so
And there's a
unassuming.
right. Well, in that restaurant, I mean, there has always been something in that building, and it's always
Right.
been about the same type of food. But yeah, Angie runs it now. It's Rolling Hills Bar and Grill, and it's great food.
Yeah, so good.
Yep.
So I mean, just come to camp just for the food. It'll
Small town
surprise you.
comfort food. Yeah,
Yes,
small town comfort
exactly.
food. I mean, that's what it is. So
Yeah, we sat down, we had our own big table. And since I will remind people, again, don't feel worried. We had people trickle in whenever they finished. So we had people, go change and come back if they did a shorter kind of ride and they started food early, and the people who did the long one came. So don't feel like you're putting people out or whatever. We're going to make it so that you're comfortable and
Get your
kind of,
food to go.
yeah,
We had that too.
yeah, get what you need and get back to work if you need to do some stuff in the afternoon or whatnot. Um, so we do food.
one thing to say on that. One thing to say real quick on that, Amanda, if you've never been to a small town in Kansas, you become very, very comfortable very quickly in that town because you're talking a town of like 5 blocks each direction. So it's not like you're rolling into a city and you're behind everybody and you got to figure out how to get across the city. You roll in and you're there. You're at the
Yeah.
headquarters no matter where you're at. And so you get comfortable very quickly.
Yeah, it's literally right across the street that we walked to go get food also. Okay, so the one thing that we like about this camp is the afternoon on Thursday, we do a presentation specifically about, in general, how to be successful in gravel, but because we're doing this with an event, we get to tailor it specifically to Flint Hills gravel as well. So we go over the course profile of the different distances, no matter which one you're doing, and kind of help you make a plan of how to be successful in that event. And the great thing about doing it on Thursdays, you've just spent potentially 4-ish hours out there. And so you know the kind of terrain to expect. And that way it'll help you figure out your food and drinking plan, because 9 times out of 10, people will learn that they probably underestimate what they need. And then when we make this plan, you can buffer things a little bit, knowing that your speed might be a little bit slower than you expect if it's your first time out there.
Yeah. And then the goal with that is further just to take this type of experience and in the future apply it to other events that you're doing.
Yeah.
So like I said before, it's the time of year it is, it ramps up into kind of a lot of people's gravel schedules for the year or other types of events, Grand Fondos, whatever. And then taking that type of experience and applying it to other events, it really kind of breaks down how to get from aid station to aid station and really look at the needs of each kind of rider. And then you get to take that stuff home and test it out a bit more.
Perfect. And then day 3 is Friday, and that's kind of our rest, recovery, spin day, get ready for the event. And we kind of see Bobby at registration. That might be the only
It's
time
more
we
for us to recover the legs a little bit, be active, go over again, like stuff to carry out there on the bike, give people the opportunity to get back into town. We might do this one a little different this year, but it's been, yeah, we give you time in the afternoon to get back to the shops in town if you need those extra bits to pick things up. And then that way you're ready to go Saturday morning for the event.
Mhm. Bobby, the food, are you still doing the spaghetti supper on Friday?
Yeah, so we'll still do the spaghetti feed that benefits the local playscape project that they're trying to do. Splash pad project that they're working on there. That starts at 5 o'clock and goes till 9 o'clock. There'll be a shakeout ride that'll be that evening. Campers get pretty much, I mean, it's early. access, pretty much any access to check in early that day. And I'm not going to set a specific time because I'm there and they can check in early, which gets them a chance to. The bike shop is in Emporia, which is a 15-minute drive. It's not far, it's 15 minutes, but it gives them a chance to get to Emporia if they want to get any last minute bike shop things. And then we also have some expo booths set up there too. Some meet and greets, Orange Mud, Cantu Cycling, Scratch Labs this year, and SRAM may have some stuff there set up also.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, Dave and I always advocate for riding as early as you can the day before an event so that you can kind of chill the rest of the day. But if you want to add a second ride to that, there is that shakeout ride, like Bobby mentioned, in the afternoon. If you're just jazzed up and you want to do everything, that's an option. But the ride that you're going to do with camp with us is about 9:30 to 11, and it's going to be early enough that we can fit in everything else for the rest of the day, like he said, and then still have time to get back home and chill before the event day. We'll talk about that VIP support once we finish going through the schedule. So Saturday, day 4, this is the event day, Flint Hills Gravel. So some people will say, why should I sign up for camp if the 4th day is just an event?
Parking.
And that's a great question. We offer a few benefits with camp, and we think, and we learned that one of the most valuable ones is the location of where you get to hang out on the morning of Saturday. So yeah, tell us about the headquarters.
Yeah, so where Bobby does the start finish and has his headquarters for the event is actually where we kind of hang out for camp every day. And so we have our own private bathrooms in there. We have places to leave all your stuff. We'll have mechanics that are taking care of your bike every night. That's kind of the bigger benefit, that we're washing things and going through them, because that's where you find issues with the bike, tears and tires, everything else. And so when you show up on an event day, just like each day at camp, your bike is waiting for you, ready to go, clean, prepped to eliminate those issues out on the road. It's not always going to happen if you drive like a snowplow driver, but we try to eliminate as much as we can so that we create success along the way. But yeah, the best part about it, like, Bobby was joking around before we started recording, is that you kind of have this heated building at the start finish, and then you just walk outside and your bike's hanging on a rack and you step inside kind of this little area we have set for everybody to line up. So it's a pretty cool experience to have that at an event that, when you have 700 people behind you, you kind of feel cool.
Yeah, that helps out a lot. I mean, and there are some, so we offer during the event, we have a VIP service that is offered through the United Way. It's something that somebody can register for an extra donation through registration, but campers get that for free, part of their registration. That is the only group of people that is allowed a drop bag during the event, or the VIPers. So it's a great thing to do for clothing. In April, it can start off at 40 degrees and sunny, and get to the 50s and 60s real fast, maybe even 70s. And then you have a lot of extra gear that's just sitting around. So we do have the drop bag service. VIP level is also the only group that has pickup on course preset. So if you were to have any trouble out there, you have a number to call to get picked up on course. And that is the only way to get that. Otherwise, fend for yourself. So the campers get that for free.
And when you get to the aid stations, there's everybody, and then there's you over here, and everybody's waiting in line to refill, and you have people that are filling up your bottles for you, and there's nobody else around.
Correct.
So kind of a cool experience.
At the aid stations, we have a separate United Way VIP tent, and they also provide a little bit different selection of food. So you can hit both tents, get food from both tents. And sometimes they'll have, like, I think one had some hot coffee, just stuff to help warm you up, a little extra comfort on the course for the VIPs. And again, that's part of a fundraising campaign that we do for the United Way. So.
Yeah, and if you're listening or watching this right now and you're like, I don't know if I can afford camp, honestly, pitch in and just do the VIP service if you're planning on just coming to the event, because the money goes to a good cause and you get to feel cool out there. And if you go out by yourself, honestly, and something happens, then it's the pickup service. You know, that it's kind of an insurance at that point for you as well. Cool. So that's camp. That's all 4 days. One of the next questions that we usually get with this is, okay, how do we sign up? And last year we just had sort of a request form. You sent us an email and we sent you an invoice for the deposit. This year we have our deposit sign up on Bike Reg. So the link to that is on our website. I'm sure you can search Tough Camp, TUFF, and it'll also come up on Bike Reg. The deposit is about 25%. So just put 25% down to reserve your spot. And we have, you know, a cancellation policy that you can read through to make sure you're comfortable with that. But one of the things that comes with registration and signing up for the camp is 2 registration fees. So,
Yep.
Bobby, is your registration fee still $70? $75.
Registration fee for 2024 is $85.
Ah, you
Mhm.
bumped it up. Okay.
So the 85 is included.
Yeah.
If you've already registered and then you decide to do the camp, then we'll just subtract that
Okay.
from the fee. So yeah, the 85 is the cost of entry for the 120-mile ride and the 85-mile ride.
Perfect. Yeah. And it's included in the 180 for Mammoth Tough if you do that long route,
Yep.
right? So
We include events or entries to both events with everybody that comes to camp. Like we said, the VIP experience and the fun that comes with the week along the way. So yeah, it's pretty inclusive is how I kind of think of it, with the overall experience that you're going to get from everything.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if you have any questions about signing up, just let us know. It is on Bike Reg, so you can just go in and put your deposit now if that's what you would like to. If you've come to a camp before, we still do our 10% off any camp in the future if you just come to one. So if you've come before, let us know and I'll send you a code for that.
Is there going to be a limit on registration this year, Bobby?
For the event.
There is going to be a limit on registration. What I'm calling a forever cap of 1,000. The population of Americus is 800. I think 1,000 bicyclists is enough for that little small town. So yeah.
Yeah. And then
Last year we
so
had 700. So yeah, the cap will be 1,000 this year.
so when it sells out, your only way to get into the event is to come to camp, be a VIP, get the rest of the experience that goes with it.
It's true. It's true. Good one. Okay, we kind of talked about at the beginning, but how to get to Emporia and Americus. We'll tell everybody from California perspective and Southern California, especially. Southwest flies direct from Long Beach to MCI, and it is the most convenient flight we've ever taken. Nonstop. You don't have to worry about your bike bags. They'll get there with you for sure. So if you're coming from Southern California, we had quite a few last year. Check out those Long Beach flights. LAX is also a good option if you're a little bit more north. But Southwest has great service into MCI since the airport has been redone. So
Yeah,
look into
MCI
that.
is awesome airport to fly into no matter where you're coming from. That's what I would recommend. Rental car service is super easy. The drive down to Emporia, I've already done it twice since September.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a cool area to go into. Riding in the area is pretty amazing. Weather this time of year is generally awesome. So I have no complaints about really any of it last year, and I got to see field burning for the first time in my life, which I've never seen a fire stick, which is pretty cool.
Driving, pretty simple, right, Bobby? I mean, you've driven all over the Midwest.
It's about a 90-minute, maybe 115-minute, hour and 45-minute drive max from MCI to Emporia, Kansas, which is where you'll stay. Emporia, Kansas, I mean, we have Hampton, Holiday Inn, all the usual stuff. And it's all on the same side of town as the highway to Americus. It's literally walk out the door of the hotel and you're in Americus, definitely 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, which is a lot shorter than most of y'all's commutes. Trust me, I know. I used to live in Kansas City, bigger cities. So 15 minutes is easy. Restaurants were all right there, ready to go. Easy to get to. Yeah, that time of year, weather's not normally an issue. Maybe a little rain.
Yeah.
Yep. No. No. No, we're not doing that. All right, cool. Well, that is pretty much that wraps up sort of like our camp segment of this. We're going to talk a little bit about specifics of the Flint Hills and what to expect there next. But if you guys have any questions about camp, just send us a message. Because this is going to be year 2, we know a lot more about what to expect than we did last year, and we can give you examples of stuff to go through. And if you're worried, please, please, please just send us a message and tell us you're worried or you don't know if you can do it. We're totally fine having those conversations and making you feel comfortable about doing something you can do. Okay, so now what to expect in the Flint Hills. Tires, tubes, everything that revolves around the wheels. What do we expect and how do we make sure our stuff is ready?
Yeah. So when people get registered, we'll send out a list of how to be prepared for camp and give you the reminders of recommendations, but don't worry about sending questions about tire pressure. Actually, please don't. We'll talk about it enough at camp and
Send them all
everybody will
to at
go
Chic.
crazy. But that being said, it's really just trying to help people understand what the Flint Hills are like. It's not a light tire. You need as much protection as possible. You need to have extra tubes with you. And so we'll be specific about that in the things that we send out and some recommendations of types tires that will survive the Flint Hills because it's not a extra light tubeless tire that can handle things up in Mammoth Tough. It would be extra protection, double protection, maybe some tire liners, maybe everything else in between. And have all the stuff inside of a saddlebag that can seal that back up like super glue. And we'll talk about why that's important when you get to camp. What do you recommend, Bobby? Anything
You
else
made it
there that I'm
sound
missing?
horribly scary. You made it sound horribly scary.
It is
Um,
scary out there
Californians, it is.
for anybody coming
also,
from
and that's the
west of
great
the
thing about this
Rockies.
camp, right? That's the great thing about this camp. I mean, the Flint Hills, the key to surviving them is being prepared going for the ride and being prepared for when something goes wrong during the ride. Just expect that you're going to have a flat. You may not the entire year, but the time you don't prepare yourself is the time you're going to have a flat. And there is nothing you can do once you get the flat. Trust me, even as a local, spring is usually the time I forget to check the tube in the saddlebag that sat there all winter long and gotten hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and now it's got a tiny cut in it. First thing I do is get a flat, go to use a tube. I don't have a tube that's any good. You're done. You're going to walk home. So it's just being prepared.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about camp is sort of like the hive mind that also happens with everybody in the room when we do our talks about gear, because everybody from Kansas is like, of course you need all this stuff, and we already like we can't even go on a ride without having all this stuff, whereas the Californians are like, I might just call an Uber if something happens. And so it's sort of like, they play off each other and learn about where people ride in different areas and what they expect. And then you learn what is the best thing that you're going to need to be prepared for when you go do Flint Hills gravel ride and these camps. So
It's a little different than some of the road camps I've done over the years where people refuse to carry saddlebags because
yeah,
they'll just either have the mechanic in the SAG vehicle do it for them or they'll get in. Whereas here,
Mhm.
it's like, no, the goal here is the adventure. And this is part of the adventure, especially in these gravel events. And so, yeah, it's kind of going through all that gear and how to be prepared and what to carry and how to use it when you're out there. And we can show some examples and make some recommendations. Like the tires I used last year was a newer one from Renee Hurst, and I rode it all week at camp, took them off, saved them for the XL, rode them at the XL, brought them home from that and rode them all summer and just got a flat last month, which is amazing to me because I've flatted all 7 times I've been to Unbound before. Or just riding in that area. So yeah, it's kind of learning and having the experiences over the years, where to ride on the trails and everything else. Cause that's a bigger key. Don't get outside of that two track and certain types of rock. And Bobby will bring us some examples in and put them on his specimen table. show you what the daggers look
Yeah.
like.
A very quick story because I don't want to talk. I can talk forever, and I will at camp. But very quick story is just last year, a tire company reached out and said we'd like you to try our tire in the Flint Hills, and I was like, great. I've heard it's unproven. I'll give it a shot. Took it out for a 100-mile bike ride, and I went through 2 tubes with that new tire. The tire came off when I was done, and I won't use that tire again until they make some improvements.
You're like,
So
sorry.
and I knew about that tire going in. I just thought, well, maybe it'll work. I know it works, and we'll help you figure out and be ready for it. So
Yes, and if you're the person shaking their fist at the screen or your audio right now, you're like, just tell me which tire to buy. We can tell you which tire to buy. Send us a message. We know what works. But yeah, but we know the stuff that does work. Bobby's tried everything under the sun, and we know the best Renee Hurst combination out there. So
We'll give you a couple recommendations
Yeah.
based on the tubeless system you have, because not all of them work equally.
yeah. And okay, next question. And the thing that people learn once they know it, but I don't think they realize it until they're out there is why does everything take longer out in the Flint Hills, Bobby?
you have a ton of different types of rolling resistance, if that's the
Yes.
way you want to put it.
Perfect. I love it.
You have different surfaces. You have different types of rock. You have soft dirt, hard dirt, no sand, but you can have newly laid fresh gravel, limestone gravel. You can have river rock. It can be sharp. It can be smooth. You can have dirt clods that are bigger than your fist, and then you get the wind on top of all that.
That's the real
And
winner.
the wind is not a 20-mile-per-hour gust. The wind is a 20-mile-per-hour consistent wind. And even if it's 15 miles per hour, that's a good shot to your face the entire day when you're out there riding and you have a 10-mile section into that wind. That's no longer a 30-minute ride at 20 miles per hour. That becomes an hour ride. And so if you, where most people get into trouble is hydrating and providing enough nutrition when they think it's going to be 30 minutes times 2 or 3, and it ends up being an hour times 2 or 3. That's when you get in trouble very quickly.
Pretty sure that ping was the wind messaging you to let you tell people, that it'll blow them off the road too.
There's
I've
actually
had
a
that
severe
once.
weather alert notification.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Severe weather alert notification.
Oh,
Wind
no.
chill factor is at -22 right now, it said. So
Ew.
I signed off of that one after last year. I
Oh,
get
God.
updates every week.
Everybody has heard stories about the mud. I know one year at Flint Hills Gravel Ride that everybody got to experience a little bit of mud. So what is Bobby's take on mud at Flint Hills Gravel Ride and the roads that you choose for your routes?
okay, so what I learned after year 1 is there are roads that Bobby loves to ride,
Uh-huh.
and there are roads that Bobby wants to direct an event over. And
Mhm.
those type of roads are a little bit different. Year 1, so here's how I do it. For camp, you will not experience any prolonged hike a bike for camp. My purpose of my routes for camp is not to destroy your bike before the event. So we will make whatever modifications need to be made per weather during camp. There is a difference between mud and spray. Spray is just muddy water that gets sprayed on you, but the ground is still solid and you can ride the ground just fine. You might experience that if it happens to be, and we're unlucky enough to have a little bit of rain, but the roads will be solid during camp. On race day, the 35-mile-ish, I hate using the word beginner, that's not right, but the tour for riders who want to ride just 35 miles, there is no hike a bike. There will be no hike a bike on that ever again. The first year there was, and that was actually a complete accident on my part. I forgot about a 1-mile section that was dirt, and all these fresh riders sadly had to walk a mile, and I heard about it. So 35-mile, no. The 85-mile, you may find a road for a mile that may have some mud that your skill level may want you to get off the bike and walk it. but you can usually ride most of the dirt roads we have here. It's not like Oklahoma when you hear about the mud that you've walked for 10 miles
Yeah.
at Mid-South, which I've done that too. No prolonged hike a bike at all on the 85. There might be some muddy sections, but they're not prolonged hike a bike. And then we have the 120, which I don't know if you've heard about the 120, and if the people watching this have heard about the
Oh,
120.
yeah.
The 120 is different than what you're going to be used to. It is an absolutely pure cue card based ride, which don't let that scare you. It's a lot of fun. But it is a no holds bar ride because it's cue card only. It's very difficult to go out there and change the course on demand. So it is what it is.
Mhm.
And you get out there and it's limited. The cap on it's limited also. So you're cared for. There's Jeeps everywhere. But the roads are what they are on that route. And so good luck and have fun. And I made it. I like it. And I want you to like it.
Yeah, and that's a good reminder. So you kind of, for all the distances that you do have, you can expect to not worry too much about mud for the shorter distance. Probably deal with some for the longer if it does rain, and
There's a
then
progression
yeah, and
in
then you're
difficulty.
Yeah,
just
there's a progression.
And
fend for yourself.
that's the goal. But the goal of the camp is really just to kind of get you all the experiences and different
None of
types.
the headaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. During the week, so you get to see and you kind of know what to expect when you get out there on event day. So we ride all different types of it, you know. I'd say the roughest road last year was just the road back into town on our recovery ride day for 2 miles.
Oh yeah, that was
Well, and that's
chunky.
a good point to make. The routes during the course of the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we do get you on the beginning part of the route and
We
the
break it
ending
down.
part of the route, so you're comfortable with those, right? And
Yeah.
in the middle, maybe something a little bit different, but it's to get you a different type of terrain, so you
Yeah.
get practice on that terrain.
Yeah. Throughout the week at camp, we ride different parts of Bobby's routes so that people get the experience, and then we mix in other types of terrain and go to some other areas that we know, like the nature trails, just to kind of experience them and see everything that the area has to offer, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and again, reminder, we had people at camp doing all three distances, so doesn't matter what you're in for, what your goals are, we can make it work. The last thing we're going to touch on real quick, again, tough.ventures.com, going to the camp section, and specifically this one at the top of the camp layout, we tell you what this cost of camp includes. So I'm going to go through it one more time. You get the registration for Flint Hills Gravel Ride. You get the VIP race experience. Last year we had people signing up for his event and they're like, do I need to add this onto my registration when I sign up? No, it is included. So if you sign up for camp, Bobby's going to send you a free entry code for his event. We're going to send you a free entry code if you want to come to Mammoth. And the VIP SAG support is included in Bobby's event. You get VIP parking on event day. Bobby forgot to mention that.
Yep.
Where are you going to section off parking, Bobby?
We will have parking. It's about a half block away, and it is sectioned off just for the VIP, the campers. Remember, like I said, America is a small town,
Yeah.
700 or 800 people. There are not a lot of large parking lot areas. So what happens is with 700 riders is people park on side streets for 6-7 blocks away. So this is a good parking lot at the race start.
Yeah. And if you've ever been to an event before, you know the value of good parking and a good place to hang out. And I think that's worth $1,000 on its own. Just for
Private
that.
restrooms are my key.
Yeah, and the bathrooms. Okay, that's next. Indoor staging next to the start line at camp. The place that you've been hanging out all week at camp, you get to hang out that morning at the event, which means you have your own personal bathrooms for this, which again, worth $1 million, honestly, on a race morning. You don't have to worry, just ask Dave.
They're
Nutrition
heated
yeah,
bathrooms.
yeah. We
Not the
might not
full
heat the
porta potty.
toilet seat, but it's good enough.
We could arrange it.
Okay, nutrition, hydration at camp. We got that covered. We'll have all the snacks for you. Yes, please bring your own stuff if you have stuff that you like, but we
If you
will
have
also.
specifics, and we'll send out emails that'll have more details on that, of like what we're gonna have. And if you have specifics that you need, then you bring that stuff and we'll make the bottles for you.
Yeah. And we love our sponsors of Tough Ventures. Bobby loves his sponsors. We're going to put together a little goodie welcome pack for you when you come. People weren't even expecting that last year. We just gave them a bag worth a lot of money and stuff that you can use at camp and stuff that you can also use on event day. And we'll talk about it during our presentation.
Yeah, leave some space in your suitcase.
Yeah. You'll get one lunch, which is the after the Thursday ride, and one dinner, which is after or the evening before the race on Friday. And then again, you get the free registrations, and then from us, you get a lot of tough love and support. And we mentioned it, but we also do the mechanic work and tell us like how that worked out last year when we found that guy's tire was messed up.
Oh yeah, that was a huge find because he definitely wouldn't have made it to the finish line on event day. So we were able to take the tires and wheels and basically just put new tires together for him.
Yeah, he found like a little manufacturing defect with the tire.
Yeah,
that
and
would have
then-
ruined his day, honestly.
Yeah, it would have ruined the weekend for sure. So it's good to have stuff like that. And, you know, if it does get muddy, the best part about it at the end of the day is you don't have to clean your bike.
Yeah,
Somebody will
so
do it
don't
for
worry
you.
about it.
Probably Amanda.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Well, that is that. Are there any stories you guys want to tell, or did we go over camp pretty good?
I remember last year in the headquarters, there was a round table that had a mountain of Twinkies that was about 5 feet tall.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is going on here? That was an experience. Why the
So
Twinkies, Bobby?
we have local hostess. We have a local hostess factory here in town, well, in Emporia, and they are one of my sponsors. And they definitely donate a ton of donuts, Twinkies, and lots of other types of yummy sugar stuff
Yeah.
for race in the morning. Definitely.
Skittles. There's
We
Skittles.
also, you may
Oh, yeah.
forget, but we had Skittles,
Yeah.
and I still have a mountain of Skittles. So yeah, we'll have Skittles this year too. I love the Skittles.
Nice. Nice.
Thank you, hostess.
We
Thank
have
you,
a Mars.
Mars.
We have a Mars factory up in Topeka, Kansas, and one of the local riders works up there. And yes, he's my connection for Skittles.
Yeah,
So.
when we came in that morning, there was snacks on every table where people were generally getting ready. It kind of like felt like college where everybody's like, well, I sit here, and they go back to the same spot every day. And so Bobby had put out all this health food to get ready for the event. And then there was a mountain table in the middle that was going to go outside later in the day. And we were all just like, what the heck is that thing? So yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing we do pretty good is balance the seriousness with the lightheartedness of everything and also having fun with it. Like, you know, make a nutrition plan that includes Twinkies and Pop Tarts. It's okay.
I mean, it's
That
nice
stuff is
too,
there.
just with these camps to have the whole, like we have a commercial washer and we can actually go through the bottles every night and clean them and take care of everything so that the coolers are ready to go each day when you show up. You don't have to worry really about anything. You're just showing up dressed and have a sling bag and change of clothes for afterwards, and your bike and everything's sitting there waiting for you. So that's kind of my favorite experience with it, is just being an adult that gets the experience of
Being a pro.
yeah, for a few days and making new friends and getting extra miles that you normally wouldn't. That's kind of the bigger goal from all this.
Yeah.
I would say for me, it was definitely because I get to, since I'm also the event director, it's watching everybody come across the finish line at the end of camp, and having got to know them for 3 or 4 days leading up to that, and seeing the progression, getting the hugs, getting the high fives, looking back on the photos afterwards, and yeah, making a bunch of new friends.
Amen. Perfect. Well, thanks guys. This was fun. It was fun to talk about it and also have stories from last year and like kind of examples to give. And it got me really excited for camp. I'm like, oh yeah, that was fun. Oh yeah, the burning fields. Oh yeah, the bathroom that we all got to share.
Let's make sure you sign Amanda up for the long one this year so she doesn't do the
I
35.
think I was like, I kind of am curious about the cue card one. I'm sort of like intrigued about doing that one just
Oh,
because it's
you
going
need
to
to give it
require
a shot.
work. Yeah.
I've had people text me and say, I don't feel comfortable doing this, but I really want to try it. Talk me into it. And
Yeah.
I will say that I put a lot of time and effort into making sure that each turn is marked correctly. And what happens normally, because we keep it to a low cap, is
Mhm.
you end up forming friends out
Yeah.
there. And you're watching this other rider and they're looking at you thinking, is this the right left? Yeah. This is it. And so it works out great for everybody, and you have a lot of fun. It really engages you. You have to watch every single corner. Is this my corner? This is my corner, and it's a whole different thing than just hearing a beep, beep when it's time to turn. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I loved being there the entire day and then watching all of those people that did the long cue card one finish. Remember, you had like the sweeper, so we knew when that last group was coming in. We were all waiting to cheer them on. It was fun. I love that.
Yeah, it was getting dark at that point, right?
Close, yeah.
That
it
last
was
group of
dark.
riders.
We actually got out some what was it,
Some
Christmas lights, and we laid them down along the road
yeah.
because it was dark, and we tried to light like a runway just to
Yeah.
make it a little more special for the final riders coming in.
Yeah, with a Jeep escort back into town, which
Yeah.
was pretty funny.
Yep.
Yeah, no one gets left behind.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Bobby, for joining us and talking about it. Remember, again, Flint Hills Gravel Ride is April 13th this year, and our camp is the Wednesday through Saturday, April 10th through 13th. Send us a message, any of us, if you have questions. Go check out the website to sign up.
Or leave a comment below.
Like and subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. Don't. It's like... all right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
All right, thank y'all.
Woohoo, stop recording.